Most people spend their entire lives chasing happiness through a cycle they never chose. Education, career, marriage, kids, retirement, only to realize at the end that they were running on a treadmill that goes nowhere. Nearly half of all workers today report feeling unsatisfied with their jobs, yet they keep running anyway. The system evolved over time to reward compliance more than fulfillment. Henry David Thoreau saw this trap over 150 years back when he wrote about people living lives of quiet desperation, trading their days for dollars while missing what actually matters. Now, this keeps you so busy and distracted that you never have time to ask why you're here or what would actually bring you joy during a few decades on this planet. What if I told you there's a way off this treadmill? The invisible assembly line that shapes your life. You see, there's an invisible assembly line which begins shaping your decisions long before you realize what's happening. From the moment you enter kindergarten, society programs you with a very specific sequence of events. Good grades lead to good college leads to good job leads to marriage and kids, and eventually good, comfortable retirement. Now, this path feels natural because everybody around you is following it. Here's what nobody tells you about this system. Many education reforms in the 19th century emphasized punctuality and rote learning traits prized in industrial workplaces. And that influences still lingers today. You spend your childhood learning to sit still for hours at a time, even when your body wants to naturally move. You learn to follow instructions from authority figures and positions without questioning why those instructions matter at all. You compete with other kids for grades that measure your ability to memorize information and repeat it back on tests, even though these grades have almost zero connection to what makes someone successful or happy in adult life. The system trains you, actually brainwashes you, to believe that someone else always knows better than you about what you should learn and what you should be doing. By the time you graduate, you spent years practicing what you've been told to do rather than learning to think for yourself or discover what genuinely interests you. Then comes the absurd moment when you are 18 years old with a brain that won't finish developing for another 7 years. You're expected to pick a career path that will define the next 40 years of your life. Now, most 18-year-olds have never lived independently or experienced the daily reality of adult work, yet they're making decisions that will shape decades of their existence in the future. The system teaches you that happiness comes from external achievements. First, it's the degree that supposedly opens doors to your success. Then, it's the promotion that will finally give you the respect you've been waiting for all this while. After that, it's the house that will provide you the security and the status. Next comes the wedding that will complete your emotional life, followed by children who will give you meaning for your existence. Each milestone promises to deliver the satisfaction you've been seeking, but instead, each one just adds more pressure and responsibility to your shoulders. What's really happening throughout this entire process is that you're being conditioned to measure your worth by how well you performed in these roles that someone else created for you a long time back. Student, employee, spouse, parent, homeowner, consumer. These roles come with predetermined scripts about what success looks like when you complete them and what you should want at each stage of life. You learn to judge yourself based on how closely you follow these scripts and milestones rather than discovering what actually brings you joy and fulfillment. Research shows that beyond meeting basic needs, spending on material goods plateaus in terms of satisfaction. Yet, early schooling conditions us to pursue these rewards anyway. Each stage of this assembly line promises that the next one will finally bring you the satisfaction you've been looking for. But instead of delivering fulfillment, each new stage just introduces fresh sources of stress and more responsibilities that consume even more of your time and energy. It's like adding more and more to your already overflowing plate. And you can resonate with this, I'm sure. You can, even if you look at your life now, how many roles, how many responsibilities, how many commitments are you holding as a mom, as a partner, as a father, as a brother, as a child, as a caregiver? How many are you holding? And how many have you subscribed to over the last several decades? And can you actually hold it at the time and energy you have? Henry David Thoreau saw through this pattern over 150 years when he built a very simple cottage and tested what he called voluntary poverty, proving that stepping off society's conveyor belt could lead to deeper satisfaction than following its prescribed path. As he observed, most people spend their lives preparing for the next phase instead of actually living the phase they are in right now. The truth becomes clear once you see this invisible assembly line for what it actually is. Rather than being designed primarily for your happiness, it evolved to make you productive and predictable. A fulfilled person might question why they need to work 40 hours a week at a job they don't fully enjoy. A person who knows their own mind might resist the constant pressure to acquire more. Once you recognize this pattern, you can start to understand why so many people feel empty despite checking all the right boxes. The emptiness isn't a personal failing, it's the natural result of living according to someone else's blueprint for your life. But this assembly line has a partner that works even more quietly, draining your energy in ways you might not even notice. You see, there's an energy vampire that lives in your wallet. This energy vampire operates through your wallet, creating what researchers call a never ending hedonic quest, where each purchase promises satisfaction but delivers only fleeting relief. Consumer culture has created a brilliant trap that works so well because it feels like salvation. When you're tired from work, stressed about relationships, or confused about your purpose, the marketplace whispers that it is exactly what you need. New clothes will boost your confidence. A better phone will connect you better to the world around you. A bigger house will finally make you feel secure. A vacation is what you need to restore your spirit. Each purchase feels like you're taking care of yourself, solving another problem, and moving you closer finally to the life which you want. But there's the twisted part that nobody talks about openly. The temporary high you get from a new purchase actually makes the emptiness worse, not better. Because your brain releases dopamine when you buy something, which creates a genuine feeling of pleasure and satisfaction momentarily. For about 24 hours, you feel like you made a smart decision that has improved your life. You might even feel proud of your choice and excited about using your new position. Then something very predictable happens. The dopamine fades, and you're back to feeling exactly the same way you did before you bought anything. Research on compulsive buying disorder reveals that people often purchase items they never even wear or use. It highlights how purchases fail to deliver the lasting enjoyment they promise. The new shirt hangs in your closet next to dozens of other shirts with a tag on. The gadget sits on your desk collecting dust. The vacation becomes a memory that doesn't change your daily reality when you return home. So you buy something else, and the cycle repeats itself with mathematical precision. This pattern stems from what researchers identify as status anxiety, where external purchases become attempts to managing internal feelings of inadequacy. Except now, you need to work more hours to pay for all the stuff you bought to feel better about working so much in the very first place. So you're now trapped in a loop where the solution to feeling drained from work is to buy things to require you to work even more or work more longer into your adult life. The advertising industry spends billions of dollars studying your psychology to figure out exactly how to make you feel like you're missing something very important. Teams of researchers analyze your brain patterns, your emotional triggers, and your deepest fears to create messaging in their marketing that bypass your logical thinking and speak directly to your emotional insecurities. They study how to make you feel inadequate with your current possessions, dissatisfied with your appearance, or worried about your social status. These experts have learned to sell you solutions to problems you don't even know you had until they pointed them out. Your kitchen needs organizing, so you need special containers. Your skin is starting to show signs of aging, so you do need expensive creams. Your car is getting old, you do need a newer model to maintain your image. Somehow, you end up with a house full of things you rarely use. Your garage is stacked up with things which you haven't even opened or used a couple of times. These were bought to solve problems that existed mainly in advertising messages. Meanwhile, you're spending 40 to 50 hours a week at a job you might not even like just to afford a lifestyle that's supposed to make you happy, but it doesn't. This cycle reflects a broader societal problem where our measures of progress, like GDP, focus on consumption while ignoring environmental costs and actual well being. You wake up early, sit in traffic, spend your entire day doing work that might feel a bit meaningless to you. Then you come home tired, stressed. Now, this is why so many people feel drained even when their lives look successful from the outside. They're literally trading their life energy for things that promise joy but deliver only temporary distractions from the questions they're afraid to ask about their very purpose and meaning. Every hour you spend at work to pay for something you don't really need is an hour you can't spend discovering what will actually fulfill you. You see, the real tragedy is that while you're busy earning money to buy happiness, you're missing out on free experiences that actually create lasting fulfillment, deep conversations with people you care about, time spent in nature without any agenda, creative projects that express your unique perspective, quiet moments of reflection that help you understand yourself much better. But breaking free from the cycle starts from asking yourself some fundamental questions that most people never have time to even ask. So let's talk about three important questions that, if you ask yourself, can change everything. These three questions sit quietly in the back of your mind, waiting for a moment when the noise of daily demands finally stops, long enough for you to hear them clearly. Which one of these questions will shock you most? The rat race keeps you so busy reacting to immediate demands that you never step back to examine the bigger picture of what you're actually doing with your precious time on earth. You see your days fill up with emails that need answers, bills that need paying, appointments that need keeping, responsibilities that need handling. Every morning brings a fresh list of urgent tasks that consume your attention and energy. They're very demanding of you. By evening, you're so spent to think about anything deeper than what to watch on TV or what to eat for dinner. This constant state of reaction becomes so normal that you forget there's another way to live. You start believing that being busy just being means being productive at all costs, and being productive means living well. But busy work and meaningful work are very two different things. You can spend decades being incredibly busy while making almost no progress towards anything that actually matters to you. Most people reach their 40s or 50s and suddenly realize they've been living someone else's idea of a successful life. But they have no idea what their own version should even look like. They wake up one morning and wonder where all the years have gone. They look around their achievements, their possessions, their relationships, and feel very confused about why none of it brings the satisfaction they expected it would bring. The first question that can change everything is simply this: why am I here? Why am I here? Viktor Frankl discovered while surviving the Nazi concentration camps that even in the most horrific circumstances, people found meaning in their suffering, and they were more likely to survive than those who didn't. Every person has a combination of experiences, talents, perspectives, and passions that nobody else possesses in exactly the same way you do. Your specific mix of qualities gives you the ability to impact the world in ways that nobody else can duplicate. The second question cuts deeper. What would actually bring me joy? Not just pleasure or distraction, but real satisfaction about how I spend my days. Research shows there's a hedonic plateau where spending beyond basic needs stops increasing happiness. Yet most people keep chasing these external rewards anyway. Joy comes from aligning between your actions and your deepest values. It emerges when you're living in harmony with who you truly are than who you think you should be. Now, the third question is about your personal legacy. How can I use my time and energy to genuinely help other people who are struggling or in need of support and help? This connects to what researchers call solidarity economics and downshifting, where people find meaning through social connection and mutual support rather than individual accumulation. Legacy isn't just about famous achievements or large donations. Legacy happens each time you use your skills, knowledge, or resources to ease someone else's burden or expand their possibilities. These questions are terrifying to most people because they reveal how much of life they got wasted on things that don't matter in the long run. They force you to confront the gap between how you're actually spending your time right now and how you would spend it if you are being completely honest about your priorities. When you're honest about what brings you real joy, you might discover it's got very less to do with your job title, your bank account, or the things you own. You might find that your happiest moments happen during simple interactions with people you care about, or while you're working on projects that express your creativity, or while you're learning something that genuinely interests you. The reason the rat race exists is to keep you too busy and tired to ask these questions. Because once you do, you start making very different life choices about how to even live. These three questions are like a compass that should guide you toward a life that actually feels meaningful instead of just busy. But here's what happens when you finally stop running long enough to ask these questions. You see, the most dangerous thing about the rat race isn't that it makes you unhappy. It's that it makes you forget that happiness was ever supposed to be the point. Research shows that overwork creates what scholars call a falling rate of enjoyment, where constant busyness leaves no time for the self reflection needed to understand what actually matters to you. So, if you recognize yourself in the cycle, start with one small change today that research supports. Even a single day long internet fast has been shown to reconnect you to your priorities. Don't accept the first answers that come to your mind when you ask these three big questions. Dig deeper until you find something that makes your heart beat faster with possibilities and hope rather than anxiety for tomorrow. Spend 5 minutes journaling your why. As one philosopher reflected beneath the body tree, the meaning of life isn't found in endless doing, but in understanding who you truly are beneath all the roles you play. And I wish you the very best as you consider how you're going to unsubscribe from the rat race, because it looks very different for each person on how moving away from that rat race looks like. And I wish you the very best in the path you choose, and may it be aligned to your deepest values, virtues, principles, and ethics, and may it lead to a lighter life, a life filled with fulfillment, a life filled with hope for tomorrow, a life where you're actually contributing to someone in pain. Thank you.